A Poem for a Friend is a poem that was the first poem I ever wrote. After the death of my mum in 1997, an elderly Australian lady suggested I start writing poetry to help me get over the loss of my mum. A Poem for a Friend. You're every inch a lady, you're every inch a queen. You're every inch a goddess, but this world is so mean. It allowed me to meet you 20 years too late. I would have asked you out on a special date. Your body is so beautiful, your face it is a treat. Any man would willingly fall down at your feet. I cannot tell you openly of the things that I feel, but in the things I write you know that it is real. Your smile, it lightens up every gloomy day. And when I hear your sweet voice, you know I long to stay. A Poem for a Friend. Usually about now I start asking people to start reading, but I'm not going to do that today. Jolie actually gave me a poem, but it was inspired by one that I'd read, and I'm not going to read that one today, but I'm going to read this one. It's Love Poem by John Frederick Nims. My clumsiest dear, whose hands shipwreck vases, at whose quick touch all glasses chip and ring, whose palms are bulls in china, bears in linen, and have no cunning with any soft thing, except all ill at ease fidgeting people, the refugee uncertain at the door you make at home. You steady the drunk clambering on his undulant floor, unpredictable dear, the taxi driver's terror, shrieking from far headlights pale as a dime, yet leaping before apoplectic street cars, misfit in any space and never on time, a wrench in clocks and the solar system, only with words and people and love you move at ease. In traffic of wit expertly manoeuvre, and keepers all devotion at your knees, forgetting your coffee spreading on our flannel, your lipstick grinning on our coat, so gaily in love's unbreakable heaven, our souls on glory of spilt bourbon float. Be with me, darling, early and late, smash glasses. I will study rhyme music for your sake, for should your hands drop white and empty, all the toys of the world would break. That's Love Poem by John Frederick Nims. This poem was written in 1998. It's called You Flirt and Tantalize My Soul. I long to gaze within your eyes and hear the sound of your tender sighs as we talk and as we speak. I long to kiss you on the cheek, your winning smile and knowing grin, that pleasure comes from deep within. You flatter me with what you say, and dispel my fears in disarray. How I long that I might kiss your lips, like nectar sweet with longing sips. To know the thoughts within your head would lead me to my lover's bed. I know your love, it has control, it satisfies both body and soul. In my thoughts you'll always be, now and for eternity. You flirt and tantalize my soul, with little white lies I lose control. But gently you lead the way and hold my love so it will stay. Within your arms I long to be, safe and secure for eternity. And when my night it turns to day, I know your love won't slip away. And that poem was written in 1998. The next poem was written in 2001. And no, it's not a space oddity. You haunt me. You haunt me with your style and grace. You haunt my soul with your lovely face. And when I saw your eyes like fire, they filled my heart with deep desire. Such ageless beauty there I see, a diamond of eternity that sparkles bright by day and night and sets my very heart alight. And when I saw your smile so rare, in my heart I knew you'd care. Your smile, it fills me with delight, it tells me everything's all right. In my soul you lit a flame, and in my heart it burns the same. I knew that God had answered prayer, because my love, it is still there. This feeling that is deep within has filled my heart up once again. It flows from somewhere deep inside and fills my heart with love and pride. And that's You Haunt Me. The next poem was one by Mary Oliver that Bonnie Diggs made sure that I got to read perfectly. Heron Rising from the Dark Summer Pond by Mary Oliver. So heavy is the long-necked, long-bodied heron, always. It is a surprise when her smoke-coloured wings open, and she turns from the thick water, from the black sticks of the summer pond, and slowly rises into the air, and is gone. Then, not for the first or the last time, I take the deep breath of happiness, and I think how unlikely it is that death is a hole in the ground, how improbable that ascension is not possible, though everything seems so inert, so nailed back into itself, the muskrat and his lumpy lodge, the turtle, the fallen gate, and especially it is wonderful that the summers are so long, and the ponds so dark and so many, and therefore it isn't a miracle, but the common thing, this decision, this trailing of the long legs in the water, this opening up of the heavy body into a new life. See how the sudden grey-blue sheets of her wings strives towards the wind. See how the clasp of nothing takes her in. Heron Rising from the Dark Summer Pond by Mary Oliver. I'm going to follow that with a William Butler Yeats poem. The William Butler Yeats poem is called Stolen Child. Where dips the rocky island of Sleuthwood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake. The drowsy water rats, there we hid our fairy vats, full of berries and of reddish stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters in the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the waves of moonlight glosses the dim grey sands with light, far off in furthest rosses we foot in all the night, weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances, till the moon has taken flight. To and fro we leap, and chase the frothy bubbles, while the world is full of troubles, and anxious in its sleep. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar, in the pools among the rushes that would scarcely bathe a star, we seek for slumbering trout, and whispering in their ears give them unquiet dreams, leaning softly out from the ferns that drop their leaves over the young streams. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the solemn-eyed. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the kettle on the hob sing peace unto his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters in the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than he can understand. That is The Stolen Child by William Butler Yeats. Okay, now for Litany by Billy Collins. Litany. You are the bread and the knife, the crystal goblet and the wine. Jacques Curion. You are the bread and the knife, the crystal goblet and the wine. You are the dew on the morning grass, and the burning wheel of the sun. You are the white apron of the baker, and the marsh birds suddenly in flight. However, you are not the wind in the orchard, the plums on the counter, or the house of cards. And you are certainly not the pine-scented air. There is just no way that you are the pine-scented air. It is possible that you are the fish under the bridge, maybe even the pigeon on the general's head, but you are not even close to being the field of cornflower at dusk. And a quick look in the mirror will show that you are neither the boots in the corner nor the boat asleep in its boathouse. It might interest you to know, speaking of the plentiful imagery of the world, that I am the sound of rain on the roof. I also happen to be the shooting star, the evening paper blowing down an alley, and the basket of chestnuts on the kitchen table. I am also the moon in the trees, and the blind woman's teacup. But don't worry, I'm not the bread and the knife. You are still the bread and the knife. You will always be the bread and the knife, not to mention the goblet and somehow the wine. And that is Litany by Billy Collins. The next poem is one of mine. It's called My Hawk. My hawk, she dances in the sky and calls to me from on high. And when her voice I hear, the call of life is crystal clear. She rises high on therms of air, as if she never had a care. I hear her call in my inner ear, a shriek call that chills the air, as she flies by with ease so rare. And then she is no longer there, but quickly returns to strike again, and brings the thoughts back to men. The magic to the world we see is focused on the things we'd be. So spare a thought when you're out there, for this wild thing with beauty rare, who kills to live to feed her brood. She will take the weak and ill for food. She is a loving mother, so when you cross her path she'll let you know, and if you get too near she'll call out loud and make it clear. And if she wants you there at all, you'll hear a different kind of call, one softer to the ears bring, and one heard in the early spring. When life is new and nests are few, the hawk will come and call to you. That was written on the 31st of January 2010. Okay, I can't read poems without referring to The Lion and Albert by Marriott Edgar. There's a famous seaside place called Blackpool that's noted for fresh air and fun. And Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom went there with young Albert, their son. A grand little lad was their Albert, all dressed in his best, quite a swell. He'd a stick with an horse's head handle, the finest that Woolworths could sell. They didn't think much to the ocean, the waves were fiddling and small. There was no wrecks, nobody drowned, in fact nothing to laugh at all. So seeking for further amusement they paid and went into the zoo, where there's lions and tigers and camels and all ale and sandwiches too. There were one great big lion called Wallace. His nose were all covered with scars. He lay in a somnolent posture with the side of his face to the bars. Now Albert had heard about lions, how they were ferocious and wild, and to see Wallace lying so peaceful, well, it didn't seem right to the child. So straightway the brave little fella, not showing a morsel of fear, took his stick with the horse's head handle and pushed it in Wallace's ear. You could see that the lion didn't like it, for giving a kind of a roll, he pulled Albert inside the cage with him, and swallowed the little lad whole. Then Pa, who had seen the occurrence, and didn't know what to do next, said, "Mother, yon lion's at Albert." And Mother said, "I'm vexed." So Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom, quite rightly when all said and done, complained to the animal keeper that the lion had eaten their son. The keeper were quite nice about it. He said, "What a nasty mishap. Are you sure that it's your lad he's eaten?" Pa said, "Am I sure? There's his cap." So the manager had to be sent for. He came and said, "What's to do?" Pa said, "Yon lion's eaten our Albert, and him in his Sunday clothes too." Then mother said, "Right's right, young fella, I think it's a shame and a sin for a lion to go and eat Albert, and after all we paid to come in." The manager wanted no trouble. He took out his purse right away and said how much to settle the matter. And Pa said, "What do you usually pay?" But mother had turned a bit awkward when she thought where her Albert had gone. She said, "No, someone's got to be summoned." So that were decided upon. Round they went to the police station in front of the magistrate chap. They told him what happened to Albert and proved it by showing his cap. The magistrate gave his opinion that no one was really to blame. He said that he hoped the Ramsbottoms would have further sons to their name. At that mother got proper blazing, and "Thank you, sir, kindly," said she. "What waste all our lives raising children to feed ruddy lions? Not me." That's The Lion and Albert by Marriott Edgar. Oh, oh. Another one. These are all thanks to Pips Greek Albatross, who actually pointed me in the direction of Marriott Edgar and his poems. Albert and the Headsman by Marriott Edgar. On young Albert Ramsbottom's birthday, his parents asked what he'd like most. He said to see Tower of London and gaze upon Anne Boleyn's ghost. They thought his request were unusual, and at first to refuse were inclined, till Pa said a trip to Metropolis might broaden the little lad's mind. They took Charbank up to London and got there at 4:45. Then, seeing its pubs wasn't open, they went straight away to the Tower. They didn't think much to the building, 'tweren't what they were led to suppose, and the bad word tower didn't impress them. They said Blackpool's got one of those. At last Albert found a beefeater, and filled the old chap with alarm by asking for ghost of Anne Boleyn, as carried her head neath her arm. Said Beefeater, "You ought to come Friday, if it's the ghost of Anne Boleyn you seek. Her union now limits her output, and she only gets one walk a week." But he said, "If it's ghosts that you're after, there's Lady Jane Grey to be seen. She runs round chased by headsmen at midnight on Old Tower Green." They waited on Green till near midnight, then thinking they'd time for a sup, they took out what food they brought with them and waited for ghosts to show up. At the first stroke of 12, up jumped Albert, his mouth full of cold dripping toast, with his stick with the horse's head handle. He pointed and said, "Here's the ghost." They felt their skins all going goosey as Lady Jane's spectre drew nigh, and Albert first swallowed his tonsils when the headsman and all did appear. The headsman chased Jane round the grass patch. They saw his axe flash in the moon, and seeing its poor lass were headless, they wondered what next he might prune. He suddenly caught sight of Albert as midnight were on its last chime. As he lifted his axe, father murmured, "We'll get the insurance this time." At that mother rose up taking umbrage. She said, "Put that cleaver away, you're not cutting our Albert's head off. Yon collar were clean on today." The brave little lad stood undaunted, till the ghost were within half a pace. Then taking the toast he were eating, slapped it dripping side down in his face. 'Twere a proper setback for the headsman. He let out a howl of despair, and taking his lady friend with him, he disappeared just like that there. When Pa saw the way as they vanished, he trembled with fear and looked blue, till Ma went and patted his shoulder and said, "It's all right, lad, we saw it too." Some say 'twere the dripping has done it. From the roast leg of mutton it came, and as the headsman had been a beefeater, they reckoned he vanished from shame. And around Tower Green from that moment they've never seen sight of the ghost. But when beefeaters go on night duty, they take slices of cold dripping toast. And that is Albert and the Headsman by Marriott Edgar. Of course, you can't leave Albert being chased, eaten by a lion, or chased by a beefeater. This is called Albert's Return. You've heard how young Albert Ramsbottom, at a zoo up at Blackpool one year, with a stick with an horse's head handle, gave a lion a poke in the ear. The name of the lion was Wallace. The poke in the ear made him wild, and before you could say, "Bob's your uncle," he'd up and he'd swallow the child. He was sorry the moment he'd done it. With children he'd always been chums, and beside he'd no teeth in his muzzle, and he couldn't chew Albert on gums. He could feel the lad moving inside him as he lay on his bed of dry fern, and it might have been little lad's birthday. He wished him such happy returns. But Albert kept kicking and fighting, and Wallace got up feeling bad. Decided to a time that he started to stage a comeback for the lad. Then putting his head down in one corner, on his front paws he started to walk. He coughed, and he sneezed, and he garbled, till Albert shot out like a cork. Now Wallace felt better directly, and his figure once more became lean. But the only difference was, with Albert was his face was now quite clean. Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom had gone back to their tea feeling blue. Ma said, "I feel down in the mouth like." Pa said, "I bet Albert does too." Said Mother, "It just goes to show you that the future is never revealed. If I thought we were going to lose him, I'd have not had his boots and soled heeled." "Let's look on the bright side," said Father. "What can't be helped must be endured. Each cloud has a silver lining, and we did have young Albert insured." A knock on the door came that moment. As Father these kind words did speak, 'twas the man from the Prudential. He'd come for their twopence per person per week. When Father saw who had been knocking, he laughed, and he kept laughing so. The man said, "Here, what's there to laugh at?" Pa said, "You'll laugh and all when you know." "Excuse him for laughing," said Mother, "but really things happen so strange. Our Albert's been ate by a lion. You've got to pay us for a change." Said the man from the Prudential, "Now come, let's understand this." Pa said, "Oh no, we know where he is." The young man from the Prudential had heard all the details. A purse from his pocket he drew, and he paid them with interest and bonus the sum of £9 4 and 2. Pa had scarcely got his hands on the money when a face at the window they see, and Mother cried, "Ick, look, it's Albert!" And Father said, "Aye, it would be." Albert came in all excited and started his story to give, and Pa said, "I'll never trust lions again, not as long as I live." The young man from the Prudential to pick up his money began, but Father said, "Here, wait a moment, don't be in a hurry, young man." Then giving young Albert a shilling, he said, "Here, pop off back to the zoo. Get your stick with the horse's head handle, and go see what the tigers can do." Oh dear, I guess his dad was annoyed. Go see what the tigers can do. Okay. This is The Foreman by me from 1998. The foreman, he scurries around the workshop with his little fat ugly frame. His bald head shines in the sunlight as much as it does in the rain. To everyone who knows him, he is a flaming pain. His constant argy-bargy is driving us insane. He creeps about the storehouse every single day. We wish he'd take his money and bloody go away. He hides down the racks to jump out on our backs, to try and catch us out with his little fat hairy snout. He walks with the stoop, and the hump on his back is where he puts his awful hat. If he reads this poem, I'll get the sack. We all think that he is a prat. You can always tell what he has been, because the poisoned dwarf turned all the lads mean. To work with him it is a sin, the state this warehouse is now in. So look around when you pass by. If you look hard you might just try to see the humpty-back foreman of the factory. With a little luck he'll go away, but don't hold your breath or he'll dock your pay. and that's The Foreman by me from 1998. Oh, of course, I can't do an event without doing this. Pablo Neruda. If you forget me, I want you to know one thing. You know how this is. If I look at the crystal moon, at the red branch of the slow autumn at my window, if I touch near the fire the impalatable ash, or the wrinkled body of the log, everything carries me to you, as if everything that exists, aromas, lights, metals, were little boats that sail towards those isles of yours that wait for me. Well, now, if little by little you stop loving me, I shall stop loving you little by little. If suddenly you forget me, do not look for me, for I shall already have forgotten you. If you think it long and mad, the wind of banners that pass through my life, and decide to leave me at the shore of the heart where I have roots, remember that on that day, at that hour, I shall lift up my arms, and my roots will set off to seek another land. But if each day, each hour, you feel that you are destined for me with implacable sweetness, if each day a flower climbs up to your lips to seek me, ah, my love, ah, my own, in me all that fire is repeated, in me nothing is extinguished or forgotten. My love feeds on your love, beloved, and as long as you live it will be in your arms without leaving me. And that is If You Forget Me by Pablo Neruda. Okay. This is another Pablo Neruda poem. A lemon. Out of the lemon flowers loosed, on the moonlit love's lashed and insatiable essence, sodden with fragrance, the lemon tree's yellow emerges, the lemon moves down from the tree's planetarium. Delicate merchandise, the harbours are big with it, bazaars, for the light and the barbarous gold. We open the halves of a miracle, and a clotting of acids brims into the starry divisions, creation's original juices, irreducible, changeless, alive. So the freshness lives on in the lemon, in the sweet-smelling house of the rind, the portions, a can and a seb. Cutting the lemon, the knife leads a little cathedral, alcoves unguessed at by the eye, that open assiduous glass to the light topaz, riding the droplets, altars, aromatic facades. So while the hand holds the cut of the lemon, half a world on a trencher, the gold of the universe wells. To your touch, a cup yellow, with miracles, a breast and a nipple, perfuming the earth, a flashing made futage, the diminutive fire of a planet. That's The Lemon by Pablo Neruda. Okay, I'm going back to 19. It's the fleeting moments. The fleeting moments that we shared will stay within my soul until we meet on death's dark shore. My love will never grow cold. My heart it grieves now for thee because you've passed away, but one day soon we'll meet again. Oh, what a joyous day. The love you shared with me is still within my heart. The wisdom you bestowed on me gave me a brand new start. You formed the very character that made me what I am. I will always love you because you are my mum. Although I cannot be with you, one day soon I will. I thank you most of all for the things that you have done. You gave my life true meaning and showed me who I am, the son of Alice Watkins, now I'm a full-grown man. The words I want to share are hidden in my heart. The love I want to show to you has been there from the start. I cannot print the meaning because it lies within. I do not have the answer now why you had to go again. You left us when we needed you to be a loving friend. And although you've gone away, we know it's not the end. We know that you are with us through thick and through thin. And whatever life throws at us, your love is still within. And that was written circa 1997. Thank you. And at the bottom of it I've put, to my mum, God rest her soul, love David.